starting with ba 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 da 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 ba 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 da 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 ba 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 da da da, and he's not afraid.
Hello everyone, it's time for more of our top 100 favorite superhero movies of all time list. I am Captain Logan. Maybe I said that, I can't remember. Look, it's Austin the Day Ghost.
My brain is actually exploding because I didn't know there was words before. Ba, ba,
Yeah,
ba.
I had it set in the wrong spot of the song.
I was like, oh my god. That's not correct. That song starts at that and then it slowly trails off. There's nothing around that.
Yeah, I'm just incrementally, over the 15 years, I'm going to give you the rest of that song.
No.
Well, folks, we are up to number 40 now. We've been really taking our time with this, going an hour at a time for the most part, getting about 10 in each time, and we'll see how many more we manage tonight. We've already done a stream tonight. I'm really out of it. We probably shouldn't even be streaming anymore this evening. We're gonna do another hour, and I'm gonna be as coherent as humanly possible. Anyway, Austin, I think we should just jump right into it. I'm very excited to see what is next on your list as we get into increasingly greater superhero movies, at least in our own personal opinions. And Let's dive right in. Austin, what is your number 40, sir?
My number 40 is Super.
Wow. I don't know if there's anything I've disagreed with more than that. Just because Super is one of the few movies that made me not want to do the Superhero Rewind commentary project. Like, I don't want to have to go back to that. I don't want to have to watch it again. I don't want to have to talk about it, like, with another person, especially that likes it.
I can't wait to do Super.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead. That is not on my list.
No, of course not. And it's one that would have been a lot lower if I'd ranked it like right after I'd seen it. It's a movie that, just the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh, like, I really liked that movie. It was really cool, and I liked it at the time. But it was, I think even now, like, I still think it's probably Gunn's weakest project, if not just movie overall. He's done some show stuff now, but no, it's really good. My biggest criticism of it, I would say, is the character of Bolty. I think becomes really annoying once she puts on a costume. I feel like that's the type of character. What's that? Sorry?
Yeah, she's awful.
Yeah, that's the type of character that I think he's gotten better at writing. But at the time, and I've never been entirely sure if it's performance, because I also think that Paige does better at the beginning when it's more of like the sarcastic thing, and then once that character becomes like quirky, that's when it kind of falls apart.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I really like the main character. I like the kind of religious angle of how he becomes a superhero, and I like his entire story with that, and how it ends up being like a tragedy for him. I think all of that works really well. But I also get why it doesn't work for you. And like I said, I think it's still his weakest thing, because there are moments where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if this is working exactly. But the stuff that does work, I think, kind of holds it up higher for me. And it's a movie where I got to see a superhero tackle a handicapped woman out of a wheelchair, and for that, I give it an A.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we just have really different sensibilities, so that's great. I think I even like Slither over that. I didn't like that movie either.
Oh, Slither's awesome.
Austin's a big James Gunn guy. I still can't get my mind around the fact that the same guy that made that was capable of making something children were allowed to watch. And now he's doing Superman. Like, it's really strange where we're at now.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, with Slither, even outside of Gunn, like, it's more that it's like a very specific period of horror that it's calling back to that I really like. Stuff like The Thing and
Oh, sure, yeah.
The Fly and whatnot. But
no,
yeah.
I'm sorry. I should have used proper names and not pronouns. I meant the fact that the guy that made Super could make Guardians is very strange to me.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I just meant like before that. But yeah, I agree. It is crazy. Well, and he made Super and is making Superman.
That's true. They'll be like companion pieces. It'll be more of like a wholesome
sequel.
Robert says that I just need to watch Super 3 or 4 more times, and maybe I'll like it. I mean, that has been consistently my thing with Gunn, besides Guardians, but I don't wanna.
But I don't want to more, sir.
So my number 40 is as tangentially related to this as possible. My number 40 is Avengers Endgame.
Oh, okay.
Which, now that I'm looking at this, I keep questioning the placement of things on my list. Because I'm feeling like
it's that high.
It's maybe a little high. I mean, the stuff I appreciate in that movie, like I really appreciate, and I don't have as some of the same issues that people have with that movie also bother me, but to a much lesser degree. So, like, there's stuff that really irks me with that, and I don't love the way we've talked about all of this a million times, but I don't love the way it pats itself on the back for the 10-year history before that of Marvel. I think it gets really sappy toward the end, particularly in like the conversation that Tony Stark has with his father in the past and all of that. Like I really don't like that scene. But I also don't mind the time travel and going, like, I don't like the rules of the time travel and how I can't stay consistent with them. But I don't mind like going back to the other time periods it goes to, because I think it's pretty clever and creative about it, in going, well, here's where the stones were in our history, and so they're not going back to the big beloved moments. They're going to the places, not entirely. They're going to the places where it actually makes sense to go back to. It's like nobody liked Thor: The Dark World, but that's where that stone is, so we have to go there. Like, I really respect it for doing that. And I agree with criticisms like Thanos suddenly seems a lot more kind of two-dimensional and cartoony. I can see an argument for why he would throw his hands up in the air and go, fine, we'll just kill everything. But I get why people that were compelled by that character thought that was kind of lame. I didn't like their take on Thanos overall, even though I think the performance is really good. So that didn't bug me as much as it did other people. But like, as an event film, first time in the theater, I was really taken in by it. And it doesn't hold up as great on multiple viewings, but it does. It is one of those things where I don't want to watch Infinity War and then just skip it. You know what I mean? Like I do tend to watch them together and continue through it. I don't like the Fat Thor thing. Like, there's lots of things not to like with that movie. There's a lot of also
too long.
it is too long. On the other hand, it is to me undeniably a really exciting first time watch, and did some things nothing's ever really done before, just in putting that many the characters on screen. And there's some really good looking stuff in that movie. Like I don't think it reaches the heights of Infinity War at all. But I guess it's this high on the list just for the first viewing I had of it more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Which is inconsistent
sure.
with other things I put on this list, because I keep saying this is more about like what I want to put in the moment. But then, if I watch Infinity War, I'll want to watch this. I mean, it's not fair. It's almost like by proxy or something. But I don't know. I feel like I almost have to apologize for it. Like, I've got lots of issues with it, but I also find it really watchable.
Yeah, I mean, I put it 89 on my list.
Oh yeah, I couldn't remember if it made your list or not.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like things about it. It's definitely like a mixed bag.
Yeah, it's weird to say that is almost, at least comparatively, like a guilty pleasure at this point, just because I guess just in putting it that high, because I know a lot of folks have kind of turned on it or are not as impressed with it as they were when they first saw it.
There's also still a lot of people that I think would put it in their top 3 MCU, which I don't understand, but like there are people that do still think that.
Yeah, like in talking about it now, all I want to do is complain about things. But like while I'm watching it, I'm enjoying at least a lot of things about it. Like, yeah, I don't like how easily Tony Stark is able to invent time travel. Like there's all kinds of things that are irritating.
I mean, that's my review of Iron Man 2. I enjoy it while I'm watching it, but I would change
Everything about it. Yeah.
It.
Well, and I don't like all the stopping to wait for applause toward the end, like with characters that got blipped finally walking through portals. That's a thing that kind of works in the theater, that when you watch it at home you're like, oh, this is like waiting for the laugh track, isn't it?
Well, more than that,
you almost want a cut of that movie where they put applause in it.
I mean, you can find those all over YouTube.
That's true.
The Russos, like all of their Marvel movies, are very like gray and kind of dull looking, and I think the climax of Endgame like really has that, where it's like everybody gets together to fight in like a big brown and beige
Browns and beige
battleground. It's like you couldn't have come up with like a better place for these people to fight.
No, you're right. And I don't even think that's a color palette issue so much as just not finding a cool location. I'm with you
it's
there.
Really bland looking, yeah. Especially after
it's almost like they just felt like they had to be consistent with the looks of their movies, where it's like, well, what you did for Winter Soldier and Civil War doesn't necessarily translate to the more like epic cosmic thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even there, I think like they're still a little dull, like too dull in their colors. But especially Civil War,
I think with Winter Soldier, it's just appropriate for that material. And Civil War, I see the argument for it. You almost wish it could like switch color palettes to some degree, just based on what's happening in the action.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's an interesting conversation that we probably shouldn't have right this minute. That's
after the Titan fight, which I think is genuinely really cool, and one of the better ones in an Avengers movie. And the thing I always wanted, which is the Avengers versus just a villain, as opposed to like the army thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Robert.
Now that I say that, the Endgame climax peaks with the Thor, Cap, and Iron Man versus Thanos fight.
Yeah, which is admittedly really well choreographed. I mean, it looks cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Robert, I mean, I still like it, but even I don't know why Cap lifting Thor's hammer was such a euphoric religious experience for some fans.
No, I had it more so in the theater, where I was like, if I could go back in time and tell my 10-year-old self that I would see Spider-Man swinging off Thor's hammer, which is shot off by an alien, and he's then caught by Valkyrie on a flying Pegasus, and he throws it starts with Black Panther throwing him the Infinity Gauntlet, and then all of this. I was like, I think I would go insane as a kid. So I had it more like a moment with that than I did
Yeah.
Cap picking up the hammer, because I think we all knew it was coming,
That was my thing, is it just felt inevitable. Like, that's just a payoff
like Thanos.
for what was for that idea established in Ultron. Whereas, like, as soon as you've got a debate about like who can lift the hammer when, and you have Cap like inching it for a second, like, well, someday they're gonna do that. Like, of course that's gonna happen.
Yeah, of course that's going to be one of the big things they pay off. Exactly.
What's your 39, sir?
My 39, we can kind of glance over because we talked about it quite a bit last time, is the first Spider-Man. Which like I said that time, I've always liked more than the second one.
Yeah.
They're both pretty good. What is your 39?
No, that's a kind of a surprising placement to me that you've got that so much higher than I do.
Yeah, and
I guess not a lot higher. I had 2 and 1 at 43 and 44 respectively, but I didn't necessarily expect that to be higher on your list. Although you're more of a Raimi guy than me, so I guess there's that.
Yeah, for sure. There's also just things that I think the first Spider-Man movie does better that I don't know if we've ever fully captured. Like, I have that with I talked about last time with the Green Goblin fight. Like, there's just like a visceral level to that I don't know if we ever really hit again.
Well, and what's smart about that too, a thing we didn't talk about before, is just the way the music lays out. I think that has a lot to do with why that scene is so effective.
Yeah, for sure.
So some of it is choices made in post. My 39 is The Return of Captain Invincible.
Ooh, okay. I figured that would be way higher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, Return of Captain Invincible
I'm
is...
shocked I have it higher than you do.
I'm not, because you're a little bit more into, like, wild farce and stuff than I am. And
fair enough.
I didn't feel right putting it any higher than this, just because it is such a kitchen sink movie. Like, it's such a... I don't want to say mixed bag. Like, I love it for what it is. I wouldn't really change anything. But it's in such a different category from really anything else on this list. Although, I guess for rewatchability, maybe it should be higher on my list, just because I do go back to it a lot. But some of that's also my wife's obsessed with it, and so she just makes me watch it a lot. But anyway, Return of Captain Invincible, for people that don't know, I bring it up all the time, but it is still a relatively obscure movie, although it's gotten a lot more attention in recent years. People have finally discovered it, and it got a re-release with a beautiful set that's on 3 discs a couple of years ago that I got my wife for Christmas. I forget the name of the company that put that out, but that's still available. They didn't make a limited enough run that's not hard to get now, so I think you can still get it for about the same price point it was before, somewhere around the $25-$30. Maybe it's a little more than that, I forget. But anyway, that is Alan Arkin, and it's like giving it his all and really taking it seriously. It's very B-movie-ish, and like I said, kitchen sink. Like it's got a lot of ridiculous puns and really silly situations, and it's sort of a musical. Like, you keep forgetting it's a musical because you only get a song every like 15 or 20 minutes, but when you get a song, they're very memorable, and none of them are at all in the same genre. It has one of my favorite presidents of the United States ever. That guy's amazing. Stop choking me, I'm your president. But it's about a kind of washed out superhero that was big around World War II, and he's got essentially Superman powers, but like also some other things. Well, I guess like he can fly and he's indestructible, but he also has like magnetic powers, and it's a really weird power set. But he's this kind of down and out drunk superhero who was kind of put to pasture because he was believed to be a communist, and it gives him this shattering disillusionment where he doesn't really believe in anything anymore, and he's got this character arc where he has to kind of like find his faith in people again and believe that his values still matter. And there's a real story there on top of all the other just insane, crazy things that are happening, and the villain is hysterical. The one thing people know about that movie is the very punny song about alcohol at the end, which is not even my favorite song or scene in the movie, but I get why people really latch onto it. And why can't I think of his name right now, Austin? Help me out.
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee, yeah. And crazy that he did that movie. And crazy Arkin did it, too.
Well, Christopher Lee, that was in like his B-movie era. I discovered that movie because in high school I did in drama class we had to do this research project on an actor, and I was like, oh, I'll do Christopher Lee. Like everyone else is doing, like big actors that are doing things right now. I was like, I'll pick someone that's like a little bit more, older. And in that project, we had to do show three scenes to the class where it's like, this is the range that our actor has. And I did Saruman's death, Dracula's death, and that scene, because I discovered that scene and I was like, this is one of the most insane things. Everyone needs to see this. It's got like Christopher Lee singing, and then he turns into a woman randomly out of nowhere, and she's singing with his voice. I was like, I have no idea what's happening.
And it's crazy you never sought the movie out. Like, you never ended up watching it until I showed it to you.
Yeah. For the longest time, I didn't even know what it was. Like, it was just like, here's the scene I found, and it's insane.
Well, for the longest time, it was only available on a triple feature box set of movies by that director, with things like The Howling 2 or...
Wait a minute, that's the same director as The Howling 2?
Yeah.
Okay, well, The Howling 2 is the greatest film of all time, and also has Christopher Lee in one of his greatest roles, Stefan, and it's beautiful. I need to show you The Howling 2 one day. It is beautiful.
Dan Zen says Christopher Lee does anything, it's not that shocking. Well, what was surprising about it to me... Yeah, and I get that, but what was surprising about it to me is that that's not really even an American movie. It's an Australian thing. And you might have thought that it would just be a bunch of no-namers.
No, for sure. That was a big part of why I picked it, too, was I wanted to pick something from like the kind of three distinct eras, like the early horror stuff, his just like random B movie things, and his comeback.
It's also really interesting that that movie is so about American patriotism, but it's kind of an Australian movie, and it was released there first, so we only got it like a year or two after it was released overseas, and it was cut all to hell. And so there is a theatrical version that is apparently terrible that I've never seen, but I need to watch it. And when you and I finally do the commentary for it, I'll watch that in preparation. I've always been kind of scared to, because I don't want to see that movie chopped up and messed up.
No kidding.
But that version is on the box set.
Dansden said that the music was co-done by the guy who did Rocky Horror.
Yes.
This is just...
That's true.
No wonder this movie's the greatest thing ever. Like...
Yeah. No, it's quite a gem. And I'll bring this up tomorrow night when we do Hancock, because we're doing the commentary project, commentary for that. But Hancock is like a bad remake of Captain Invincible in certain ways.
That is true. What makes me sad, though, now about like learning more about this is that the return of Captain Invincible should be like any director's like magnum opus.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's the Howling 2 guy makes me go, oh man, it's now only his second best film, and that makes me very sad.
I'll have to finally watch that, because like I own it, but I didn't feel the need to watch that. All right, Austin, what's next on your list?
My number 38.
I spent too long talking about that just because I know people don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to finally talk about it when we get there.
No, same here. My number 38 is, I think you've already done this, is Blade 2,
Yes.
which is the best Blade.
So what makes it rank so much higher than the original for you?
I just think it has a little bit more style. Like the first
Mhm.
Blade, I think is a little more just kind of standard. And part of it also is I haven't seen it in a while, so it's like kind of going off memory. But
Yeah.
I also like the villain a lot more in 2. I like the dynamic with the team. I've always really liked that ending that I talked about when we talked about Blade 2 when you put it on your list.
Well, it's probably objectively just better directed, better looking.
Yeah, and there's some rough CGI in that movie, but it's, there's rough CGI in the first one as well.
That'd be weird going back to then, because I don't remember any effects in that being shoddy.
Oh yeah, there's a big one where it's like a silhouette ninja fight, and it looks really bad. It's like Spider-Man jumping rooftops at Spider-Man 1 bad, where they become Toy Story characters. It's wonky, but overall that movie's really good.
Well, we already talked about that quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
What is your 38?
My 38 is Danger Diabolik.
Oh, okay, which I still have not had a chance to watch.
I was really hoping you would see that before we got too high on the list, but Diabolik ranks above Return of Captain Invincible. In some ways, they're in kind of a similar camp in that they're foreign movies. Danger Diabolik kind of more foreign, just because it's an Italian movie, and I'm trying to remember if it was shot in Italian and dubbed. I think it was. I'm rusty. It's been a while. But anyway, it only ranks slightly over, and I was going to say also because it's a little bit more obscure, at least here, not real well known. Very well known in Italy, because that's their most popular famed comic character, and people there are obsessed with that character. But Diabolik only ranks just above Captain Invincible for me because it is like one of the top superhero movie soundtracks for me, which I listen to all the time still, and it's super stylish. It's thought of by some people as like a weird out there B movie, but like much less so than a Captain Invincible. It was the last movie that was covered on the original MST3K, and they kind of regretted doing it. Like, it's so on the line, it almost like does not deserve that treatment, and they probably shouldn't have done it. But there's certainly some like kind of odd, out there choices in directing and stuff. But that's a Bava movie. He makes experimental odd choices, and it's got a lot of like James Bond in it. It's very like Bond meets 60s Batman. It's a real kind of for lack of a better word, like an intentionally really sexy movie. I don't know what else to say about it, because I know a lot of people probably haven't seen it, and I always do recommend that. Like, watch that movie. It's wild, and it's very entertaining, and it's visually fascinating. It's got some of the best matte painting work I've ever seen in anything, and Bava was a master at that. When you see how, if you look up, because I don't remember exactly what the budget was for that, but very minimal budget, and just shocking what they accomplished visually with that. Diabolik has basically like a 3 or 4 level Batcave, much of which they didn't build, and you kind of can't tell. Like, it's crazy how good it looks.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that ending is one of my favorite endings of anything. It's so cool, the image that you're left on with that movie. But Diabolik is like a master thief kind of character. So like it barely fits in the category of superhero, but he's a costumed character, and he's a little bit of a sort of a Robin Hood type. Like, he's not exactly stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, but he is like a anti-establishment type that is constantly challenging the government that's kind of taking advantage of people. And so the regular people on the street really like it when he steals things and messes with the government. And it's got a lot of things to say about what it feels like was sort of tyranny of government at the time. And it's real countercultural, and makes a lot of sense that it was made in 1968.
Oh man, I really need to get on this. Just everything you said sounds perfect.
Yeah, it's very much your kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Diabolik just has a really kind of cool, sleek, simple outfit that I've always appreciated. And weirdly, that property got an American short-lived 90s animated series on Fox.
Weird.
With like really similar animation to like the Tick or X-Men or
like the crazy censorship.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
And it's kind of okay. I saw a couple episodes of it.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, I'm having to talk about things that are taking longer than normal because there's things people don't know about. All right, what is...
Okay. Most of the things I've had are things we've talked about already.
Just brought up already. What is your 37?
My 37 is X2.
Yeah.
Is definitely going to be a lot higher on your list, but it's a movie I like a lot. I think this is a respectable area to hit. It's really good.
Look, there's no surprises that way, Wolverine.
Yeah, exactly. We all knew X2 was going to hit both of our lists.
That's probably about where I would have guessed for you. The way you've talked about that, because I knew you like First Class a lot more than that movie.
Mm-hmm. No, I love First Class, but X2 I would say is my second favorite X-Men movie.
Yeah. It's still my first, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I'm just saying that to not make things too obvious, but it is obvious. Everybody knows.
Everybody already knows that it's Iron Man 2, X2, 89 2. Exactly. What is your 37? I'll let you talk about it more when we get there.
Oh sure, yeah, we can have a cool little conversation. We've done a commentary on that too. My 37 is Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
Oh, okay, nice.
Which is, despite all the weird things lately with Whedon and how I've found myself, not just because of that, but just going back to some of his things, like reevaluating a little bit. Like some of his stuff doesn't hold up as well to me as it used to. I still love Dr. Horrible. I think filling in is hilarious in that. That whole cast is good. And I really like the music in it. It feels like Whedon sort of used the Buffy musical as like a stepping stone to eventually do something a lot more cohesive. So when you go to Once More with Feeling, and I like a lot of the songs in that, but it's sort of like Return of Captain Invincible, and I didn't put these this close together just because they're musicals, it just happened that way. But when you go to Once More with Feeling, it's a bunch of songs in very different genres, and Dr. Horrible, it's all of a piece, and is again just a lot more cohesive. I think all of the jokes, for the most part, still really play for me. And it was a really inventive thing at the time because it's barely long enough to even count as a feature. To even say it's be on
really
this
short,
list.
isn't it?
It's only 45 minutes.
Oh, okay, it's longer than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's long enough that I feel like I can count it. Like I put the Power Ranger special from last year on here. That's 55. And also, I've reviewed, back in the scripted days, I reviewed this movie on Superhero Rewind, so I've always counted it. And I think I even put it on my top 10 of the decade for the 2000s. So it's always counted to me as a movie. But anyway, Neil Patrick Harris is hilarious and carries that movie really well, and I just like kind of the inversion where it's about a ostensible supervillain who, by the end, goes to a full-on villain place, but is like absolutely the hero of the piece, but like a tragic hero. So like he's the real altruistic guy. And the superhero is really the villain, but then a little bit like Megamind. And then when you get to the end, he's basically like the character that kind of refuses to change or allows himself to change in the wrong way, however you want to look at it. And it's also sort of like Return of Captain Invincible. The sort of story where it's very farcical and ridiculous, but is also pretty character driven, and there's some real kind of human truth in it, which I really appreciate. But like I said, really inventive at the time. That came out in 2007, and it was released originally online on its own website, and I watched it in the parts as it came out. So Whedon dropped that one part at a time. And I can't remember if it was over a period of weeks or just 3 days in a row. I forget now, it's been so long. But that was a really neat way to drop something, and it was almost pre-YouTube. Like, YouTube was only a year old at that point. You couldn't put something that long on it, so that's not where it dropped. And Whedon got listed in like the top inventions of the year for inventing the internet musical, which was hilarious. But anyway, I still love Dr. Horrible.
Yeah, that was one I contemplated watching for this, and then decided, I was like, I don't know if it'll make my list, so I didn't bother. But one day I'll watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you'll feel about that, just because Whedon's humor sensibilities don't hit you the way they do me. But
yeah, for sure. That's cool. My number 36 is one that I also kind of struggled putting on here. I know you did. You said earlier.
Just like where it would land on the list, or
yeah, because it's like, how do you even rank this? It's
sure. Birdman, yeah. And see, I couldn't go that high just because I didn't feel like it counted really as a superhero movie, but it's great. Like, it probably should have been this high.
And I think I put it high because I was like, I mean, it's great. Like, there's a debate you could have where you could say, like, this is better than all of these, but
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's not going to make my number one top superhero movie because that's weird.
It deserved the Oscar, I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's genuinely really great.
And there's a lot of Best Pictures that don't, but like that did. And I was actually somewhat surprised that it, like, I knew it would get nominated. I was a little surprised it won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, didn't Keaton win too?
I think he did.
Yeah.
But yes, we will do that on the commentary project.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. That's one I'm looking forward to because I also haven't seen it since it came out. So, like,
is there any concern that it's not going to hold up as well as we remember it?
Not really, because I really liked it when it came out.
It's just weird how long it's been. Like, that movie is, God, I want to say 8 years old, maybe 9. Did that come out in 15 or 16?
Is it that late? I was thinking it was earlier.
Maybe it's more like 13 or 14.
I was thinking like 13 because I thought it was before the RoboCop remake. Here, I can pull it up because I have it.
No, it's 14.
It's 2014.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is just before the RoboCop remake because that was right. Isn't that 14? That's also 14.
That's also 14. So it just depends on the month it came out. But this is, I'm guessing, is probably Oscar season, so it probably did come out after.
I thought that was over the summer.
Oh, maybe. I don't remember. It's been so long. It's been 10 years. It's a decade.
No, you're right. It came out in October that year.
Oh, okay. Well, I just like to think that RoboCop didn't come out that year. So.
I remember reviewing that with Tim Lyons, but I forgot when it dropped. Yeah, that was like the big comeback year for Michael Keaton. And I want to think there was something he did He was retired for a long time. I want to say there was some movie he did probably before RoboCop. Surely that wasn't technically the first comeback movie for him, right?
I wouldn't think so. I imagine he probably did some things here and there.
I'd have to go back and look. Yeah, 10 years. Good God.
Yeah, crazy. What is your 36?
My 36... Sorry.
You're
I
good.
thought you were going to talk longer, but I guess we did that already. My 36 is Turtles Forever.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Which remains kind of my favorite multiversal crossover movie. I just think it's super clever in the way it puts the 87 Turtle show in along with the I can't think of dates right now. The 03 show, and then getting to the just the idea of the whole meta idea of a multiverse of Turtles franchises that in continuity all exist in the same multiverse, and then you get to the end, and Eastman and Laird are drawing all of it, and they and then we have the actual Mirage Turtles at the end. At the time, it was kind of mind-blowing how creative it was with all of that, and we've attempted many things like that since. I'm not gonna say, I say my maybe my favorite multiversal crossover thing. I guess not really, because like the Spider-Verse movies certainly are better than it. But it was, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, but like, it was kind of the first of its kind to try a thing like that, which I really appreciate. And it's funny because, like, in some ways, Spider-Verse is like in its footsteps with it. But I guess I also like the idea of multiple Turtles iterations meeting each other a lot more than I like it with Spider-Man, because I feel like Turtles has the Batman thing where there's a bunch of different ways to handle those characters, both serious and farcical and everything in between. Like, it's really versatile and like weirdly versatile, and I don't feel like that with Spider-Man. I feel like we've kind of forced it with that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the animation is pretty good in that. It's pretty ambitious. It tries some 3D stuff on top of 2D stuff, and it didn't have a big budget, so it's kind of impressive what it manages. The 87 voices are unfortunate because there's this really weird rights issue where they weren't allowed to bring back any actors that were in that show, and that was rectified when 2012 also crossed over with 87. Some of those voices were allowed to come back, but you also had some actors who had died, so like you wouldn't have gotten Krang or Shredder anyway. So like it's not perfect or nothing, but it was, like I said, a real big deal for me at the time when I first saw it, and it's a lot of fun to go back to. And I'm a sucker for good turtle stuff.
Hell yeah.
Robert, I thought fans hated Turtles Forever. I mean, I guess it was a kind of divisive thing. I know some people were really impressed with it, and some were upset that it treated the 87 Turtles as even dumber than they really were, which is kind of the biggest issue I have with it.
Okay, I think I've heard people complain about that.
It's also really nice that we got that for the 03 series as kind of a final send-off for that show, because like Fast Forward was terrible, and I guess it had a season after that I've never seen that was probably a little bit better, but it was nice to see that kind of come back to brass tacks. And the Utrom Shredder thing was just really ripe to kind of mine in playing around with 87, because 03 basically does Shredder and Krang as the same character. So it's kind of fun to take that and they meet Shredder and Krang from 87.
Mm-hmm.
So just like with Batman and Ninja Turtles, it's just, the right kind of fan service.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a magic to that, right? Absolutely. We're at 5. Do you want to keep going, or I don't know how long we've been going for?
We've only been at this for 45 minutes, so we can probably knock out a couple more.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. My 35.
If I don't fall asleep here. Yeah, I was sitting here. Sorry, I got stuck on this because I was sitting here thinking like, no, there's obviously other good multiversal things now, but I guess I was going back to like my old brain where I was like, we haven't topped that, and it's also kind of sad that like with all of the multiverse things we've been doing lately with MCU and stuff, like I still feel like it's way up there. You know, obviously I really like Multiverse of Madness, but not as much for the multiverse stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like some of that stuff more than you do, but even what's there, that wasn't really the driving force of that movie. So like whether you like it, you know, you really like it or not, like it's not a proper like multiversal cross. Like Deadpool and Wolverine is more about that stuff than Multiverse of Madness is.
Mm-hmm.
It would be up there for me now, in like a top 3 or 5 of those.
Yeah, I don't even know what mine would be. I guess by default, Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Well, because
I guess it's the Toxic Avenger 4, technically.
Oh yeah, because you were talking about them. But yeah, like Spider-Verse 2 would probably be toward the top for movies that do it earnestly, and then for movies that are kind of making fun of it, it's Deadpool and Wolverine, because that works because it's kind of throwing darts at the MCU for taking itself too seriously with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. My 35 is Unbreakable, which
Yeah, I can't believe you
brought
went
up
higher
last time. Yeah,
with that. Yeah,
no, I definitely expected that to be higher on your list.
I just need to watch it again. It's been too long.
Yeah, for sure. No, I don't really like Shyamalan that much, but that's like by and large the best film I've seen from him. It's really good. And
There are directing choices in that movie I find really distracting. It's like let's
he's still Shyamalan.
let's put a camera behind seats, like somebody's sneaking around looking between them, but it's not from anybody's POV. Just figured that'd be kind of an interesting place to put a camera.
It was cool, yeah. Even I think I said last time, like the first 10 minutes, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this because it has all the like weird dialogue issues he has a lot, and then that kind of went away, and it's really good.
I tried a shot like that, Austin, with my movie, where I was like behind some pillars, and everybody, including Jason, and when I showed the footage to Connor when he was here, everybody was like, well, like it's like a POV shot. Who's up there? And I'm like, look, if Shyamalan can get away with it.
Well, it's a twist.
I ultimately abandoned that because they were right. It looked pretty stupid.
I disagree. You should have gone for it.
I didn't do it. We didn't even end up shooting the scene with it. I set it up, so I showed Connor footage of just the camera behind the pillars, like shooting down at a subject. But we didn't actually shoot the scene like that. I ended up abandoning it on the day.
Damn it. Like I said, damn Connor.
No, this one's not Connor's fault.
Damn
But
Jason.
he agreed with the consensus. Jason is a true producer, man. He shoots me down all the time.
You got to be like, this is my magnum opus. I will lock myself in the editing room.
Well, now I'm really intrigued to do the rewind commentary on Unbreakable with you, Austin.
Mm-hmm. No, Unbreakable and Split will be interesting because
Yeah.
I don't want to watch Glass.
I don't either. It sounds like you and I are very much in agreement on those movies. I mean, I probably like Split a little bit more than you.
Yeah, because it didn't make my list, but
I'm with people on most issues that I've heard complaints about with that movie, but I just like the style and atmosphere of that, man. I could watch that all day long.
mm-hmm. No, like I said, I think we'll have.
I'm also not a Shyamalan guy.
Yeah, no, I think we'll have all the same pros and cons. It's just where you fall on it.
Yeah, how much it bugs you.
Exactly. And then Unbreakable is just really good.
Yeah, I do. Because knowing you hadn't seen it before, I didn't know if you'd like that or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I wasn't sure.
I thought you might kind of see it as pretentious.
Well, and like I said, I'm not really a fan of Shyamalan, so I was like,
Not either.
I don't know if I really want to watch this. So like, I kind of always kept away from it. But yeah, what is your 35?
35 is Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker,
Oh, okay, nice.
which I don't think you had on your list.
I
Or
don't.
if you did, was it real low?
No, I do not have it on my list.
Okay. Yeah, we've done that together, and I know you were. I don't even want to say lukewarm on it. You were just kind of like
Yeah, I've
indifferent.
always been like
I think.
indifferent. It's not a bad movie.
Yeah.
It, I mainly like it for the section where it goes back to the animated series, but I'm also just not a Batman Beyond person.
Right.
Um, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
really am. I've always said that movie makes a really great case for Tyrion McGinnis as the honest to God Batman. I like the way he beats the Joker in a very not Bruce Wayne fashion at the end. I like it as a movie entry in the middle of a TV show in that it really matters in Terry's character arc and in his dynamic with Bruce Wayne. It doesn't feel like a superfluous one-off thing. It also doesn't take anything too far, like Justice League will in retroactively making Terry McGinnis
Yeah.
a clone of Bruce Wayne, which I always hated. Like it could have added something ridiculous to the mythology like that, and really jumped the shark, and it didn't. I like the tragedy of Tim Drake in that a lot. I love the casting for older Tim Drake in that because I'm a big Dean Stockwell fan, and it was really cool that he was chosen for that. They always went with a lot of great working actors
Hmm.
and character actors that didn't do a lot of voiceover. So it was nice seeing that tradition continued, of course. And I think what elevates that movie for me, besides the fact that just like Phantasm, the animation is ramped up so much. Like that could have nearly been released in the theater like Phantasm was. It looks great. But one of the things that always really impressed me about it, and maybe like unfairly elevates it for me, is bringing back the Joker is the obvious thing to do, and it shouldn't work, but it did. And that's also very much in the tradition of that show, in that Batman in the future sounds like a really stupid idea, and it shouldn't work, but it did. Third season notwithstanding, because I'm not a huge fan of some of what's done there. But
And
anyway,
unless you're me,
unless you're you, yeah. But I
no, for sure.
But anyway, I've talked about that movie a lot. Everybody knows I love that movie.
Oh, I mean, everybody does. I feel like that's like the common like uh, best animated movie after Phantasm for a lot of
Yep.
people. And then some people like it over Phantasm. So
Yeah, that I don't understand. I think Phantasm is an absolute
Yeah.
masterpiece, and I would not really say that about Return of the Joker, but it's close.
there's really good stuff in it.
It is not the second best animated Batman movie for me though. There's at least one other thing that will eclipse that.
Oh, Mystery of the Batwoman.
What is your 34? We've got enough time for one more, I think.
My 34. This is one that I think I had like at least 10 higher, and then I saw something new this year, and I was like, I don't feel good about this, and I dropped it down a little bit. Which is going to be weird for people. My number 34 is Hellboy 2: The Golden Army.
Yeah.
And the thing that I watched this year was that Mignola documentary,
Mm-hmm.
and just hearing him and Del Toro himself talk about it, I was like, like I'm losing like a little bit of appreciation for this movie just from this, which is unfair, but like, I know
Sure.
it's kind of hard to fight that. But
You feel the way you feel about it, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But
Well, we've talked about this, but you have such a different perspective than me because you're a comic Hellboy fan and I'm not.
yeah, no, and I mean it's still a good movie. Like I think I compared it to Batman Returns at one point in this series, just in that it's you have a director with like a strong vision, they get the sequel, and they kind of go off and do their thing instead.
Well, and we didn't talk about this before, but I could take that even farther and say that in its way, Hellboy is very much like a Batman '89. Like that first movie, just in that you've got a director with a vision, and on paper, like if you've never read a Hellboy comic, it looks like Hellboy. But if you're like a big Batman person, '89 kind of nails it and kind of doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about it that way, but you're right.
You know what I mean? Like the way he even thinks about who the character is a little bit different from the creator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Hellboy is kind of like Batman '89.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they just kind of get by just on the strength of the director's vision, which is why, for me, both of those examples, I think the sequel is a little bit better.
Well, that's why you have a whole generation of people who '89 is their Batman, and they don't get why people don't like, the walled off, not getting in his head, version of Batman, the kind of weird reclusive Batman. And you have a whole generation of people that all they know of Hellboy is those movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where it's like weird that Hellboy isn't like a coming of age thing, and that he and Liz aren't a thing,
right?
Or that Abe doesn't have like telepath abilities, like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Hellboy 2 also has maybe the best Seth MacFarlane role of all time. He's like the German ghost scientist guy.
Oh, I forgot about them.
Yeah, and he's really great in that. He gets to both like have some serious moments and also be really funny, but not in like a now we're becoming like a farce way. It's also, I think the villain stuff is a lot better, and it's the bad guy from Blade 2. It's that actor. He comes in. The villain plot's like made up for that movie, but it kind of leans into the more like fairy tale thing that Del Toro likes. And I think all that's really cool. I like when they go to the troll market. All that stuff looks really great. All the practical effects.
The sets they built are really cool.
Yeah, they're really
That's
great.
the big thing that always sticks with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like an old school fantasy movie. Like they built a lot of stuff. That's also very Tim Burton.
Yeah, definitely.
Not that it looks like a Burton movie, but just they have that in common. They like to build a lot.
Mm-hmm. Maybe slant it a little bit.
Have lights in weird places and odd colors. Stuff glows that you wouldn't expect to glow.
Exactly.
Move the glow.
Nani glows.
Right.
Exactly. And Seth MacFarlane like possesses one, and it glows a different color, so you know which one's him. Yeah. What is your number 34?
Real quick, I'll read Nicholas Bodo's comment here about the last thing I brought up, because I probably should have mentioned that. He says the Joker flashbacks might be the most disturbing thing in any Batman adaptation. I don't know if I would go that far, but for that continuity, that blindsided everybody that they were allowed to go that far. And I mean, it's disturbing in both versions. I think they do a pretty good job of in toning it down for that initial release, still going with a way to torture and change Tim Drake that was arguably kind of as messed up as the original.
Yeah, and they tweak that later season animated series style, like art style, a little bit, and it looks a lot better than that show actually did.
Yeah.
But it's like, I kind of wish the show looked like that. Especially their Joker design. He's a lot better than...
It's a treat we got that.
Mm-hmm. That's the best part of that movie. It's great.
And I don't have that, but I do really appreciate that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also nice that we go to a flashback and it doesn't feel superfluous. And I don't know what it is about Bruce Timm in that universe, but they knew how to do flashbacks and make me buy that that's the only way to get that information. Because you know me, I'm really anti-flashback. Mask of the Phantasm is filled with flashbacks.
Yeah, it's basically just non-linear.
To the
Yeah.
point where I was gonna say to the point where it feels more like a Lost episode, where it's more like you just have two different stories that complement each other that we're going back and forth between.
Mhm. Well, I still remember when I was a kid and I didn't know that that's what was happening and thought it was told entirely in order,
Oh
and it
man,
was very
that will just
strange.
blow your brain up. You'd
Yeah.
be like, how come Batman sometimes wears a Batman suit and sometimes he wears like a ninja outfit?
Oh, well, Alfred is washing his uniform that night.
At least he'll have spares.
We didn't. He forgot to order more.
This will be the last thing I talk about tonight. My 34 is indeed the animated Batman movie that, besides Phantasm, I would put above Return of the Joker, and that is Under the Red Hood. I put them right next to each other.
Nice.
I don't know what more is there to say about that movie. I feel like it's beloved. Maybe as much or more so than Return of the Joker at this point. I don't know anybody that doesn't like that movie. And like when you get in the conversation of direct-to-video animated movies, it seems like one of the people that don't watch very many of those, it's one of the only ones they can name.
Hmm.
Like it comes up a lot.
No, it definitely does. I feel like I still hear more people say Return of the Joker, but outside of that, then you get into like your Under the Red Hood and Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
Some people really like Year One, but like I don't know. Some people also like the Huff Glue. I don't know.
Yeah, when we're just talking about Batman stuff, like with that line at large, I still hear Superman versus the Elite a lot.
Mm. Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
Those are kind of the big ones.
Yeah, which I didn't say. I took it off because there was something else I wanted to put on my list.
I had exactly the same thing. That was in that 16 that I was jumping around with.
And I had it next to Under the Red Hood, so I would just say just tie them because it's like I took it off because I'm like I also haven't seen it in like over a decade.
That's the reason I took it
So
off.
like, I felt weird putting it on.
I just couldn't speak to it. I haven't watched it since it came out. I probably only saw it the one time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I remember really liking it, but I can't speak to it right now.
Hmm. But yeah, Under the Red Hood's really good, and it's got like maybe even over Phantasm. It has like one of the best Batman endings for one of those animated movies.
Yep. No, it really
Yeah.
does. Although I think
And it's
Phantasm
a flashback.
I was going to say, I think Phantasm is nigh perfect, except I guess that ending is just fine. It's not like a blow you away kind of ending.
Mhm.
It
No,
just,
but like the Under the Red Hood one's
just
like a
has to
complete
kind
gut
of
punch.
let you know that she didn't die like she's still out there. And I don't know what she did with the Joker. I'm still preoccupied by that. Where like she had every opportunity to snap his neck. I don't really know why she didn't do that, but all right.
They got into a big discussion about how they both really hate Nazis, and then they were like, you know what? You're not so bad, Joker. And then they went their separate ways.
Under the Red Hood is one of the most atmospheric of those.
Yes.
Just the tone, the feel of that really sticks with me. It
The
feels
atmosphere is
like
killer.
yeah, it feels like more of an event than a lot of those do, and it's paced really well. It feels like it's got. I don't even know if I want to say downtime, but like it feels like it just kind of breathes better than a lot of those do. And it's got a nice balance between its drama and its comedy. Like Black Mask is hilarious in it. We've talked about that before. It's got a really disturbing but also still kind of funny Joker. Like in a lot of ways, that's the Joker I want. And it's probably the best, like not cliche. Should Batman kill the Joker or not? Story put on screen, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's like maybe the biggest and best thing it has going for it for me. Like that kind of philosophical debate at the end is so good.
Yeah, Bruce Greenwood's also like a really good Batman. I feel like he doesn't come up enough in the conversation of like the best Batman voice actors.
Yeah, absolutely. And that most of that cast is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. The only real like black market has against it, I would say, is that Amazo fight is just kind of awkward.
It's awkward. And we talked about this. Because I think we already discussed this movie a little bit because you had it lower on your list, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had it at 72.
Oh, that's right. So it's been a while now, but we had that conversation about how silly it is that those thugs know that Nightwing used to be Robin and all of that. Like, it's really awkward.
Yeah,
I love
it's Neil Patrick Harris as Nightwing. Which
I love
cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Jensen Ackles is really good in it. Like. That movie is probably the best argument for doing some kind of a standalone Red Hood thing, which I don't immediately care about, but it could be cool. Like if Ackles came back and it looked like that, if you did a Red Hood and the Outlaws movie, there's potential there.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess.
Yeah, and I feel like since this movie, like it's one of the things that people really want from a live action Batman movie.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, and obviously like it would be a little bit different, but I've always wondered if maybe they would kind of hesitate doing exactly that, if it's like a little bit too close to like the Winter Soldier thing. But
that's a good point.
But I don't know.
We're so far removed from that movie now, though. I mean, it's been like 11 years.
No, exactly. One, a lot of it is people were saying it like when BVS came out, and I was like, I don't know, would that maybe be weird?
Yeah. Well, and that's another one of those things, like I said with something else earlier, that, I guess with Return of the Joker, it's elevated by the fact that I should hate it. Because I never liked the idea of bringing Jason Todd back. I didn't like it in comics. It's the same writer coming back and making his own work better. Mm-hmm. And so, like, for a lot of people, the best Jason Todd thing is a thing that I never wanted to see happen. And that alone is really impressive. Like, if you can win me over on what I thought was a bad idea, that is dictionary definition. You can make anything work, you just have to make it work. And it's hard for me not to immediately start like handing out bonus points for you won me over on a thing that I was massively biased against. Immediately that makes me a fan of it.
What I think, especially with that, because I've always had that with Jason Todd as well, I do think it helps that it is a standalone movie and not just regular DC continuity. So like there is a degree of like Elseworld to it, where it's
that's
like
true,
I don't bring that to it.
That's a good point. But like that also shouldn't work.
Yeah.
Where that is a premise that requires a continuity that exists already. It's by its nature a sequel to something. It shouldn't work all by itself. Yeah. Like the two animated adaptations of Death of Superman were not able to handle that.
Well, it sounds like
we're gonna kill Superman while introducing Superman, but like at the same time, like that sounds stupid. You shouldn't be able to do it. I still have to assume that there's some way to do that well, because Red Hood introduces a dead Robin as like a returning, somewhat antagonistic character in its own standalone thing, and it's great. So if you can do that, you can introduce and kill Superman.
Well, it also sounds like it's still a better Death in the Family movie than the Death in the Family movie.
Which isn't really a movie, and which just repeats scenes from that movie. And I'm repeating myself because I think we talked about this already.
No, I think we did, but yeah.
No, they should never have put that out. But a worse mistake than their releasing that was my buying it at full price, and I'm still not proud of that.
The joke was on you.
It really was. I went to the cash register feeling like I was being beaten over the head with a crowbar.
No, DC took you out, and not for like a friendly dinner.
Well, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. We'll be back with more of these next week, hopefully, as we mosey along through our top 100 favorite superhero movies of all time. We're in the mid-30s now, so it won't be more than 15 parts, I don't think.
I don't know. What part are we on? Oh, I guess we're on 10. So
we're on 10.
I was thinking we were on 12 for some reason.
No, we're not quite at the same number that we got to with the history videos. But then those we also went went longer on. Or no, we timed those out at an hour. But, you know, we're talking about 100 things a piece here. Yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah, exactly. I guess still got like a ton of heavy hitters coming.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the nature of this beast. Like, the heaviest hitters
know.
should be toward the top.
I don't know.
Or at least, depending on who you are and what you think of as the heavy hitters, like, you obviously have had beloved movies real low on your list, so...
I'm already past Moonwalkers. Like, I don't know if there's really anything worth watching after this.
I just want to remind everybody that Austin is the guy that put Logan at like 92 or something. So,
and I put Moonwalker at 47.
You haven't seen Logan on my list yet. Just,
if it even makes your list.
Just watch Austin roll his eyes when we get there.
Well, it's probably going to be number 2 under Iron Man 2. So,
how many things have you put at my number 2 spot so far? It's been like 6.
There's like, well, you said there was 13 things that didn't make your list. So there's probably like a ton of things that you were like, I just need to get this in there somewhere. So you have like a 18-way tie
for
number 2.
The one will be definitive, but I actually stacked the deck so that I have like 118 things on my list.
You're like, my number 2 is Batman 89, X2, Logan, Batman Begins.
Look, I realize I sort of cheated here a little bit, but in my defense, I love these all equally.
Yeah, exactly.
All 15 of them, I love them all equally.
Exactly. And then my number 1 is Iron Man 2, a perfect film.
Josh just came in and said, I keep arriving when these right when these finish, and that's so comedic.
Oh, that's tragic.
It is tragic.
Played Out also says that in a post-ironic world, I cling to the past. I don't know what that means, but I guess I become the AVGN in the apocalypse.
Yeah, it sounded kind of poetic, though. I want to put it on I want to put it on a box. I don't know what it means, but...
Yeah, my memoirs, that's going to be like the thing at the top. It's going to say that.
In a post-ironic world, Austin clings to the past. Well, I want that to be the voiceover at the beginning of your like serialized primetime drama, like in a post-ironic world. Austin clings to the past. And then it's like some weird version of like Quantum Leap. It's like Austin in Quantum Leap. Austin clings to the past.
I'm like jumping from person to person, and I'm like, I'm in the past. I may never get back to the present.
Each episode, a different time machine presents itself to allow Austin to return to his life in the present, but he says, no, nostalgia.
Yeah, there's an episode where I become the president, but I don't know that. Like, somebody comes in and they're like talking about how great I am, and I look in the mirror and I see that I'm the president, and I'm like, whoa, I'm highly regarded. And then that can be like a big meme that everyone...
The name of the episode is, whoa, I'm highly regarded.
Yeah.
I love that. You know, this premise is almost as good as the guy on the Captain Logan show last night who pitched me the notion
Spawn.
of a Spawn puppet show as somehow a bad idea, which I still don't understand. He was like, what terrible idea would you rather do, a Spawn puppet show or something to do with SpongeBob?
Yeah, it was like Dark SpongeBob, I think.
And I was like, well, first of all, you're underselling your own genius. Like, that's a great idea. And second of all, it's no contest. Not only would I want to make that between those two things, but like I'm probably going to now. Like, I want to get those puppets made, Austin. Can we build like a little alleyway set?
Would they be like one for one, like kind of like Spawn parodies of Sesame Street characters? Like Violator walks out and instead of eating cookies, he eats hearts.
Yeah, that was my initial pitch. And like it's Sesame Street, and it's still like you'd actually teach kids their letters and numbers, and it would be still relatively wholesome, except the Spawn characters would still sort of be in character. So you wouldn't have like actual blood and stuff, But Violator would be eating hearts and things.
Mm-hmm. Like, there's a Malbolgia at the end of this book.
Yeah. That's great. So it would either be that or it would be like comedic adaptations of Spawn comics with puppets.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the Sesame Street idea is the way to go. You know? And then you do like you know those Big Bird in China, you do like Spawn goes to China.
Billy Kincaid goes to China. You've seen what he does with popsicle sticks. Wait till you see what he does with chopsticks.
Wow. I clearly am going to have to put you on the writing staff.
I know.
All right, everybody, we appreciate you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week. Wow, I guess I tried to end the show 10 minutes ago. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin, the Day Ghost.
Good night, everybody.
Later, folks.